G'day guys, Dal here from Dal's Rigging and Crane Tips, a 2020 yeah. So today, man, I'm coming to you from my bedroom up at work, and it's just so I can get some peace and talk to you just one-on-one. So today there's going to be a lecture from Dalwin, which is me, and I all know that you crane operators and riggers, you're smart guys. I mean, there's some, there may be a few, dumb cunts, but, generally a crane operator or a rigger, they're smart. They might have dropped out of high school, but that doesn't mean anything, man. That doesn't mean anything. You haven't gone to university, so what? It's probably a more wiser thing not to get into 40 grand worth of debt and then end up working at Bunnings than to get into no debt and become a crane operator and earn more than them anyway. So, who's a smart person here? That guy who just went to uni because everyone else was and got into debt and now works at Burger King? Or, us who are operating cranes, who read books, who want to get better at life. So we're going to have University for Crane Operators, all right? So I've got a PowerPoint presentation for you guys, and it's the biggest thing in crane operating. In my experience, I might not know anything, but it's the biggest thing in crane operating which will make you damage things and to injure yourself. So it's my number one biggest thing that I've become aware of a few years ago. I've fixed it, and ever since it's paid dividends. That means ever since I've had low or minimal damage on cranes, and I haven't hurt myself since I've changed this thing. And it's not an exterior thing. It's not reading the manual. It's not looking at graphs. It's not changing your belt or putting your gloves on, or it's not a take 5 or a freaking JHA, because we all know that's, they're not worth anything. But there's some things in the whole initial idea of a take 5 and JHA is good, is to pause and start to just go, okay, what's my job here? So I won't discredit that with a JHA and a take 5. And if any of you are international listeners, a JHA here is a job step analysis, job hazard analysis, and it's what we have to do over here before we start a good job. We've got to write steps down. So we've got to write the steps of the job, and then write the hazards of the job, and then write what controls we're putting in place. And so it takes a while, like half an hour before your job, to write one up, and it's supposed to keep you safe. But anyway, the number one thing that, I think that causes damage and accidents is not an exterior thing, all right? It's to do with your mindset. And a lot of things in life, if you're trying to lose weight, or if you're trying to give up smoking, give the durries up, if you're trying to give weed up, like, man, I'm always on the cones, bro, I need to give up, or if you're, giving up tobacco, or even those clicky ones now, man, what are they, the vapes? Yeah, anything. It all starts with mindset. You can get your patches, bro. You can read a book which is on mindset, but it all changes with mindset. And if you want to stop damaging cranes, if you want to stop injuring yourself, you've got to change the mindset, man. You do. And since I've done that, it's paid dividends. Like my debt, like up here, I had, and touch wood, because whenever I say I don't damage stuff, next day you surely go out and you'll dent the crane or something. But touch wood, that's not the case. But ever since I've changed this mindset and how I approach my work in cranes, these last 4 years, I haven't damaged a thing. And you think, oh yeah, well, it's all right, well, maybe that's you, or maybe I'm different, or maybe it's not, all right? It's just your mindset. And so I'm going to go through that, and I've got a pinned PowerPoint presentation. We'll go through it. And I know you guys are smart, and I know you like the facts, information, and this is going to pay off huge for you, because you'll probably notice that every time you've been doing this thing, that's when you've had accidents. So let's go through it, all right? I'll shorten myself down. Actually, I'll put myself up here. Okay. Yep, that's it there. And we'll get rid of here. Okay. All right. So, the dangers of rushing, and that's what it is, guys. It's rushing. That's the number one thing. It's not everything, but it's the number one thing that leads to damaging your crane and injuring yourself. Okay. So yeah, you know who I am. I'm Big Dell, Dell's Rigging and Crane Tips. The outcome of this is to significantly reduce damage and incidents for the individual. Why? Because us Crane Tip fam are the best internet crew, and it's a duty of responsibility from me to you. So I know that this works for me, and if I know it works and I don't share it with you guys who are in the crane industry, then I'm a piece of shit, aren't I? So, because I've got something that works. Like the last 4 years, I haven't damaged anything. So I need to share this with the Crane Tip fam, with the Brothers of the Hook. Now let's start with a quote. We all love a quote, all right? I love a quote, you love a quote, your mum loves a quote, all right? Behavior is the expression of the problem, not the problem. And this is from Daniel Amen. So that means people's behavior is an expression of the real problem, okay? The behavior isn't the problem. There's a bigger thing which is causing the behavior, all right? Behavior is expression of the problem, not the problem. Now, you might have watched a few Netflix documentaries about retired NFL players, and what's been happening of late is they're going out murdering people, and a lot of them are committing suicide, and a lot of them are, killing their wives and stuff, and there's this traumatic behavior with them, and you look at the behavior, and you think, oh, they're just what fucking idiots, and oh, I can't believe they'll do that. But their behavior is an expression of the real problem, okay? And what they found out, this Daniel Amen, after doing all these studies on their brains, is that their brains were mushed after a lifetime of playing footy. Their brain, see this one on the right here? See, it's got holes in it and stuff. And so the behavior is bad, but the behavior is not the problem. It's that their brain was mush. That's the real problem. And so they found that out. Some league stars are like that. Some wrestlers, that Chris Jericho, remember he murdered his wife and family. Bad behavior, but the real problem is that their brains were scrambled. Okay, so we get that. So we've got the problem here, NFL traumatic brain injury. Then we got the behavior, NFL players suicide murder problems. We've got bipolar and depression. If you ever suffered depression or bipolar disconnection, that's a real problem. And then the behavior is antisocial behavior. Maybe you get really addicted to stuff because you're trying to mask the environment, and you got a shitty environment. What's better? These drugs are way better. But the problem is the depression disconnect. A simpler version, a bowl of ice cream is the real problem. The behavior is my dog's going crazy, so I left some ice cream down by the couch, and my dog, I don't know what was up with my dog, he's running around the house like a madman. His behavior was crazy. But his behavior was a symptom of the problem. The real problem was the bowl of ice cream that I left out. Okay, So we get that. So what's the biggest problem when it comes to behaviour around damage and injury for cranes, bruds? What's the biggest problem? And in my humble opinion, it's a rushing mindset. You rushing around. We all know that saying, rushing around like an idiot. Yeah, because idiots rush around. You look at my biggest boss at my job, he in no way has ever rushed. He reclines back in his seat, and I've never seen anyone as least rushed as him. And he's a boss. So rushing around doesn't mean that you get more work done, and it certainly doesn't mean that that you have a good experience at work, because it leads to damage. Now, it's not all cases to damage. It's not every reason why you damage the crane, but it's the major problem that I can see. So I'll tell you a story about this. So I used to damage stuff at least, like in my I started in 2005 and crane operating. I started crane operating. I'll tell the story, but I never rigged. So I just started as a crane operator. Where I'm from, you just need a truck license, and that's it. I eventually got my tickets because the boss thought it was a good idea, but no one asked for them. You just needed a truck license. So anyway, so I would have, due to rushing, I would have I'd probably damage a crane. I'd probably have 4 to 5 incidences a year, where I'd damage a crane, I'd damage a panel, or, I'd damage maybe an underguard or something, or, about 4 to 5 incidences a year, and it got to the point where I remember over in Queensland when I was working, I was coming out of the yard, and there was something up with the back wheels, and I actually crabbed the back of the crane into another crane, and I fucking smashed the crane, man, and I was sick of it, man. And the next day at the pre-start, the boss goes, going through the run sheet. He's like, okay, Darwin the Destroyer, you're on the 50-ton, blah, blah, blah. And I remember in slow motion, all the crew laughing, Darwin the Destroyer, and the boss, and it was like in slow motion, be like, yeah. And it really hit me, man. And I was pissed, and I was just like, and so the following night, I was just sitting on my bed, and I went through all the times I had accidents, and there was one common denominator in all of them. Every time I, hit my shin on the outrigger, every time I damaged a panel or something, or I had some type of damage or hurt myself, I figured out that every single time it was because I was rushing. I was rushing around trying to get things done quicker than my capabilities. I was going too fast for my capabilities. And that's exactly what rushing means. You're going too fast for what you're capable of. And I noticed that fact, and I thought from that day, I'm like, I'm never going to rush again. That's it. I'm not rushing. All right, I can move quickly, but as soon as I'm going too fast for my capabilities, I'm gonna zero in on that. And it's not easy, because if you expect yourself to go a certain speed at work, if you pride yourself on getting a job done quickly because that's what you do as a person, it's really hard to tone that down. And so, and if you do have an accident, it's all on you, bruv. Because your boss goes, yeah, hurry up, get that done. And this is what will happen to you if you're new. You'll rush, you'll try and get that done, you'll have an accident, and then your boss will go, well, why were you rushing? And you'll go, oh, yes, so you rush me around, but if I have an accident, it's my fault. So you've got to protect yourself, bros. All right? You've got to protect yourself. Because if you rush and have an accident, it's all your fault, man. It's all your fault, and it's all the fingers are going to be at you. It's no one else. So protect yourself. We've got to not rush. Now, since 5 years ago, or 5 or 6 years ago, where I've encapsulated that and I've harnessed that, and I know that that's a thing, and I've stopped myself rushing. The evidence is clear. The next year, I only had one damage incident. The next year, I think it was just one as well. The following year, 0. The following year, 0. The following year, 0. The following year, 0. I've been 5 years now without any damage, you know. And yeah, there could be some things in my story. The jobs I've had in the last 5 years aren't with a crane company which has only got 5 cranes, and you're trying to get ahead in life, and you've got 17 jobs a day, you know, so I'm not overwhelmed as much, but I still have cut out that rushing, you know. And yeah, the history is evidence. I know it's only anecdotal evidence, it's only the evidence of myself, but let's look at other evidence of this. Alright, so I thought to myself, yeah, this has worked for me. And so I looked around. Now, the crane operator I know, which has damaged the most stuff, and I know of them, like you know about 100 crane drivers all around your country you live in. The crane driver I know who's notorious for damaging stuff, I thought, who's damaged the most? And then I pinpointed him. He rushes, and I've worked with him a couple of times, and he rushes around, he jumps in the crane, he pulls the levers too fast, up and down on the hook. I'm just like, whoa, 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 slow down, bros, slow down. And so straight away there, that's some more evidence. So the crane driver I know who's damaged the most stuff and hurt himself the most, he's a notorious rusher, just goes way too fast for his capabilities. The work crew I know who has damaged the most stuff and hurt the most people, their boss pushes them so much, and they rush around. And the evidence is clear. They've damaged the most stuff. Permanent people on sites versus shutdown people. Guess who has the most damage and injury reports? It's the shuts. Because what's the name of the game of the shuts? Let's get this done. Let's get it on time. We've got to get in. We've got to get out. There's deadlines. And so you've got a whole bunch of crew rushing around like idiots. The biggest incidents to the smallest incidents on sites, after investigation, there's always rushing there. Oh, I just needed to get it done before the end of the shift. I thought we could just rush over there. It's rushing. Highest industry for damage and deaths. Guess what it is? Out of any industry, it's construction. What's construction made out of? It's made from people rushing around, deadlines, let's get the building up as quick as we can, profits need to be made, and we've got the biggest casualty for damage and deaths. Now, it could be because it's more high risk, you know, a bunch of flower planters, there's no risk in being deaths. But, you know, there's a lot of high other things like the travel industry, transport industry, but construction, biggest rushing. Biggest corporations in the world now, some of them, like FMC, are focusing. They've found, just like I have, that rushing is a major problem. Signing off stuff in the office without actually looking, trying to multitask. Actually, multitasking is the worst thing you can do. Yeah, you can do a few levers on the hook, but you can't talk to someone on the phone and listen to the Dogman's radio and then be doing Sudoku in your paper. Multitasking sucks. Focus on one thing at a time. And then, so we've got all those things, rushing, the worst. And then the last example I've got is the last time my wife was really mad at me is because I was rushing in the bedroom. That's my joke. It's a dad joke. But then again, rushing, man. So we want to pull away from rushing. We want to stop going too fast for our capabilities. So look, on this next slide, I've got what is rushing. Now I've got this work speed chart. Now look, some crane operators have got this attitude down here. Can't damage nothing if I don't do nothing. And look, no one wants to live by that need. There's some guys out there, one guy in every company, who fucking does fuck all and they're useless, man. There is. And they're a lazy dog. And it sucks because you're out there pushing yourself, wanting to do a good job and do a great job. And since you're doing that, you damage stuff. And then you've got this guy who doesn't do nothing, who doesn't damage stuff, and you're like, fuck, like it's frustrating. But no one wants to be a lazy dog, all right? And none of you guys are, and it's not a good way to live your life because you get found out. And then, next, if you lose that job, who's going to refer you? Who's going to be your references, bro? No one. No one's going to be your references. You'd be out, like I wouldn't. So we've got lazy job. And then up here, we've got Optimus Prime. That's what I call. And so Optimus Prime is your prime working speed. And you know when that is, bruds. All right? You know when that is. That's when, you're jumping out of the crane, you've got your paperwork set, you're pulling the levers, getting the outriggers out, you're in your prime. And you always know because you're humming along in your head, boom, putting the outriggers out, chucking the timbers down. You've looked at the load chart. You've given yourself enough time to look at the load chart so you're confident in where you're at. And that's the Optimus Prime working speed. You know that. You felt it before. You're in tune. You're in the groove. All right? And then there's a fine line pointed out here, and then it goes into rushing. All right? And that's going too fast for your capabilities. And that's when things get missed. That's when, and you'll see it, man. You'll rock up to a site, and there'll be a foreman there. He's like, yeah, we've got this container, and he wants to fuck you up. He wants to get you upside as soon as possible. Yeah, just set up over there and grab that container and put it over there. He's like, yep, pronto. And if you're not aware of what he's doing, and what used to happen to me, because I was quite young, I started operating cranes really young. I was influenced by these older men, and I thought, oh yeah, and so they would be rushing me, and I'd go around and I'd rush, and I'd be in this state of frenzy where I was setting up the crane rushing, and I took 2 seconds to look at the load chart, and I'm like, oh yeah, well that's it, and then it's all downhill from there. You get in the crane, you're like, oh, can I really do this? Should I have looked at the load chart? Well, I'm set up now, so I can't really pack up and set up again because customer's already unhappy, and then, maybe you get the job done, or maybe you don't, and the customer's like, what? You have to reset up the crane? And it's like, yeah, because I was rushing. So rushing too fast for your capabilities, and that's when things get missed. That's when you're backing up the crane without your dogman and you hit something. That's when you think, oh, I'll just go over this drain, next minute, you bust a pipe, Oh, I'll just go down this alleyway, I won't wait for any riggers to spot me down there, and you hit something above the crane, all right? Trying to rush the job, all right? So you need to pull back, all right? So what things can take us from our Optimus Prime, where we want to be working, to rushing? Now, there's a lot of things, man. You might be competitive. There might be another crane driver in the yard, bruv, that you're competing with. You want to be the top dog of the company. It might be your ego. You want to be the best crane operator. And a part of wanting to be the best crane operator and competing against Bob over there is that you go too fast for your capabilities and you get rushed. Poor planning. You don't have the slings. Oh, we've got to quickly rush back and grab the slings. Your boss could rush you. Expectations of your workmate, expectations of yourself. Like you might expect that you work at a certain speed since you were 18 when you left school, whatever, and it's actually too fast for your capabilities. Expectations of your boss, expectations of your workmates, wanting to prove yourself, even wanting to do a good job can cause you can push you into rushing. You want to do a good job, so you want to impress a boss, and so you go up there and you start rushing, and then you have an accident. Environment, who you work with, too much on, working with the opposite sex. Have you ever seen dudes, man? Have you ever been at the pub and it's just you guys around, and then a girl shows up, and then one of your mates like turn into a weirdo, and he starts like acting like an ape, beating his chest? Yeah, that's what happens if there's girls on site. You have to recognize that, so you don't start showing off and rushing. Prado effect. Most bosses in Australia have a Prado, and so when Prados turn up on site, they can cause you to rush. A new job, wanting to do a good job, leaving things till last minute. New person, supervisor, teammates, but it's you. Essentially, at the end of the day, the only one making you rush is you. No one else is in control of your body, bros, but you. No one else is in control of your mind, bro. Yeah, there's influences from other people, but at the end of the day, you need to stop rushing, all right? You need to stop rushing. And it goes the same with the riggers as well, rushing around like an idiot, and then they trip over some stairs, or they fall over, or they hurt themselves. So what you can do as an individual, all right, to stop rushing. So are your expectations of how fast you're working too fast for your capabilities? So here's some things you can do, is reset every time a bum touches a seat. All right, that's what I do. Every time I hop in a ute, every time I hop in a crane, in the driver's cab or up in the superstructure, I just take a few seconds to have a couple of deep breaths, and I reset, And a bit of a mantra here, if you're into that shit or whatever, I just think in my head, cool, calm, collected. And I've been doing that for a long time, and it just brings you back down, thinking clearly. Because I can't think clearly if I'm rushing, man, and I can't think clearly if I'm going too fast. So I just need 2 seconds, man. 2% rule. If you are on a rushing job, like you've got to get this done before the boat goes out off harbour, you can still go fast, just dial it back 2%. Like, I can move a crane fucking fast if I want to, but I'm not rushing, alright? So don't by any means think that not rushing means you're going to be the slowest guy in the yard. That's not true at all. Like, I can move a crane, I can pack up a crane and set up a crane pretty quick, man, but the key is, I'm not above that fine line where I'm into rushing, all right? So not rushing doesn't mean slow. You can take deep breaths, you can have a step back, do one of those take fives, you can have a break, relax, cool, calm, collected. Joyful places have less accidents. So if you're in a miserable places have more accidents. So have a laugh with your work crew, have a laugh with your dogman, have a laugh with the other guys. Have a good laugh and always be positive, because you're less likely to rush, you're less likely to have accidents. Stop multitasking. Stop being on your phone in the cab, listening to the radio, your dogman's on the radio, you're doing 3 levers at once. Stop multitasking. If you're operating the crane, operate the crane. Yeah, you can do it. You can multitask by doing 3 things at once, but your sole focus is on operating that crane. If you're looking at the load chart, look at the load chart and focus on the load chart. Don't be on your phone in one hand or driving at the same time. Set your mind to one thing at a time. Multitasking doesn't work. It's actually been proven with science. It's not good. You become really shit at a lot of things if you multitask. So if you're on your phone talking to the boss, on your phone talking to the boss, and then, okay, I've got to set the crane up. Okay, solely focusing on setting the crane up, Don't answer your phone or whatever. Stop multitasking. If a supervisor does rush you, like in places, your supervisor does rush you and there's nothing you can do about it, use administration or to calm down, or talk to him privately and say, look, man, I can't go as fast as your expectations are. Like, I'll go all day, I'll go all day, bros, but I just can't go as fast as you or whoever you think I'm expected to go as fast as. But administration is good. If you have to do by company policy, a JHA or some paperwork, if he's rushing you to do something, say, look, I've got to do this JHA. It's company policy, man. So I'm going to use that time to calm back down, get back to earth, and go from there. Now, you to your workmates, are your expectations of the speed they work too high for their capabilities? Are your expectations for another crane operator for the speed that they work too high for their capabilities? Are you judging your speed to their speed and going, oh, well, how come you haven't set that crane up? And then you start pushing them too fast, and then they have an accident. So you've got to not do that, all right? And you've definitely not, and especially with the riggers that you have. If you've got riggers and you know how fast you can rig, and they're not up to your speed, don't push your speeds onto them, bro. They're not as fast as you, or vice versa. They shouldn't push their speeds on, because as soon as you start pushing your riggers to go faster than their capabilities, they're going to have fuck-ups. And part of that, I know in reality, it's their fault, but that was you rushing them, man. And so if you don't want them to have accidents or not check your jib and have your swing and have your load swing out and hit something, then you don't want to be rushing them. You want them cool, calm, collected. Don't have negative comments about their speed. Oh yeah, just waiting on Tom the rigger. Yeah, slow as a turtle, that guy. Or saying how slow they are over the radio. Passive aggressive comments are a big no. Don't rush them. Yeah, mate, just waiting on Turtle over there. Yeah, he couldn't kick a barn door shut. Going to be Christmas by the time he's finished. Help them. Essential for you to be cool, calm, collected at all times. Yeah, so if you're quick and that's not rushing, don't have expectations that other people are going to be just as quick as you. Now, yeah, there are some slow guys, so, maybe give them a G up. But don't push them into rushing. You too, supervisor. Supervisors are intimidating, even if not physically. Your crew naturally mimics your demeanor, and important to be cool, calm, collected at all times. So if you're a supervisor, look, if you're a crane operator and you've got riggers under you, technically you're a supervisor, bros. And so some of the tricks you can be as a supervisor, because I do it on shuts, is make yourself as least threatening. Because if you're threatening, they've got these expectations, and they think they have to rush around. So the best thing you can do to make yourself least threatening is to make fun of yourself to the boys. So have a laugh. Have a laugh at yourself. Have a laugh at your boys. Don't be too serious. We all know everything. Make sure you make it clear you don't want them rushing, just working at their optimum. So every time I meet new riggers, because I meet new riggers on shutdowns all the time, the number one thing, I'll roll up to them and say, look, I don't want you guys rushing, all right? There's no expectation of me for you guys to be rushing, all right? And they go, yeah, all right. And then usually what happens is the 5 days we've got the shutdown, we have a great uneventful time where there's no accidents and there's no damage. Because in the back of their mind, they're like, this guy doesn't want me rushing. He just wants me working at my optimum. Make sure you tell your supervisor if you feel rushed or need more time. Joy's another one. Funny, joyous work crew, having a laugh all the time. If you know the guys really well, you can mock each other and have a laugh. But that makes and a joyful work crew has less accidents proven by science and less damage, all right, to equipment. If your supervisor does rush you, practice the techniques on the previous pages. All right. Now, in conclusion, Brothers of the Hook, crane tip fan, just don't rush your mates, and you can practice these techniques. But I guarantee to you guys, you know, that if you just work at your Optimus Prime, and if you put steps in place so you're not in a rushing mindset, that your damage incidents, because if you're just like me, 5 or 6 a year, you know, you fuck the crane and all the boys, and you owe a carton, you owe beers 6 times a year to the boys because you have these stuff-ups, I swear that they will reduce, if not in 1 year, but by the 2nd year, you will be having 0 to at least just 1 accident a year, damage or injury. And that's it. Rushing is not everything, but it's a big part of it. All right. And the second would be guessing, which I've already covered in another video. But the major culprit is rushing. Not everything. Sometimes you know, a tree can fall over and fall on your crane, you know, and you can't help it. You know, sometimes it's guessing because you don't actually learn the crane, and that's why it happens, and you weren't rushing at the time. You just didn't know because you didn't educate yourself by reading the book. But if you don't rush, your numbers are going to go to 0, like they have mine. And I never rush for anyone, not even my boss. Go, 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 go. I'm just like, yeah, I'll go as fast as I can, but there's no way I'm rushing, bros. There's no way. So anyway, I hope you like this video. I know you guys are smarter than all these uni guys anyway. You know, what do they know? They're back at working at Macca's anyway. So keep this in mind. Change your mindset, and it will pay off because you'll have less damage. The boss will go, man, you haven't damaged anything since you've been here. And you go, yeah, because, bro, low key, Dale's rigging and crane tips, bruv with the hook, bruv. Anyway, guys, like these videos, subscribe here. Dale's rigging and crane tips. Yeah.